Okay guys, we have another unboxing video. It's been a while since I've done one of these. The last one I believe I did was with a Z690 Dark from EVGA, the Dark Kingpin. My apologies. Today is something a little different. Usually I would just jump right into the Dark series for the Z790. I will be doing a video on the Z790 Dark and a lot of content with the Z790 Dark. But today I got something that I've been wanting for a long time. And this particular board is something special because it's everything that I want it to be. It's the Z790 Classified from EVGA. Classified branding, anybody that's familiar with EVGA's Classified branding, it goes back a long ways. I've owned quite a few Classified products over the years, primarily GPUs, but as far as motherboards go, the last motherboard I believe I owned that was a Classified model from EVGA was the X58 Classified. So it's been a while. And it's not that I didn't want to buy the previous generation Classifieds. They just didn't feel the same as Dark boards to me. The Dark boards were always the upper echelon of boards, and being an Exoseer is what I gravitated to. But in this particular case, I'm going to be building a workstation / video editing rig using this board, and it fit all the criteria, and it's still an Exo-C board, kind of. It's very capable. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at it. We'll go over a full overview of the board, and let's see what they changed on the Z790 compared to the Z690, and how it compares to whatever else is in its price range. And we'll start with that. This board has an MSRP of $700 US. So it's not the cheapest board. EVGA is known for making very high quality boards, so I'm looking forward to this. I can already tell it's really heavy. And I'm not gonna lie, I already did peek at the board. I didn't look at any of the accessories or anything like that, so this is still a fresh unboxing to me because I just kind of peeked at it. Couldn't help myself. So let's go ahead, get into it. All right, as you could tell, standard EVGA boxing, always just plain black, nothing too fancy. All right, how am I gonna get this out of here without dropping it? Okay. So once again, another black box. Folds open like so. And first piece is, this is likely a manual of some sorts. I generally keep those on PDF. And we got our accessory kit. They always throw in these accessory kits. They're generally well organized. Let's see, I just cut my nails today, so this could be a pain. I gotta have something. I got a flathead screwdriver right here. That should work. No, it's not working. But I got enough of that so I could just peel it off. Five years later. And I totally ruined the box, whatever. Alright, let's see what comes in the accessory kit. Naturally, EVGA badge. I have too many. I don't care to admit how many I have because I don't keep track. EVGA always gives you a USB thumb drive with all the drivers and everything you need for first boot. Of course, they're not the most up-to-date drivers. I always recommend still updating your drivers, but for an initial boot, to get your network controller working and everything else, you want to use this USB thumb drive. Proba cables. EVGA is known for using proba cables on the motherboards. Essentially, there's a proba header on the motherboard, and you plug these in, and you could put positive to ground on various voltage rails with a multimeter and get real-time accurate voltage readings, which is really necessary for Exo-C. I don't know how much I'll be using it with this board, but I'm definitely going to be playing around with it on a test bench before it goes into the final build, which I'll talk about at some point. Wi-Fi antenna, EVGA style. They have an interesting Wi-Fi antenna design. It actually, I mean, I probably won't be using it. I'll be using Ethernet cable, but yeah, it comes in the EVGA logo with the two antennas, one for Wi-Fi, one for Bluetooth. Now this motherboard does have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, I believe. So it is modern day Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. SATA cables, more SATA cables. There's 4 in total. I'm pretty sure there's more than 4 ports. Okay, that's everything for the accessories. A piece of foam. Now to the motherboard. And yes, she is heavy. Very heavy. I'd say it's heavier than the Z690 Dark. All right, there we have it. Here is the all-new EVGA Z790 Classified. Now you probably already could tell there's a few differences compared to the Z690 models and prior Classified models. Not that there were many recently, but they did rotate the socket 90 degrees, similar to the last pretty much all the generations of the dark boards outside of X299. So you got the 90-degree rotated socket with the memory DIMMs on top. I really like the design because it has proven to be very efficient for memory overclocking. And EVGA does say that you could run 4 DIMMs up to 128 gigabytes. How fast you could run those, I don't know. But I've spoken with Lumi, and he said that I should be able to run 4 DIMMs, so 2 DPC, 2 DIMMs per, or 2 DIMMs per channel. I'm tired, guys. I'm looking to run 6,600 megatransfers per second across 4 DIMMs, 64 gigabytes in total. He said that should not be a problem. He says 7,000 plus is easy. It's rated at 7,800 megatransfers per second plus officially by EVGA. So that's really cool. Another thing that they changed about this, as well as prior generation, the Z690 had the standard EPS 12 volt 8 pins up in this corner, and they were perpendicular to the board, just like every other board. They finally added it, just like the Dark, over here parallel to the board next to 24 pin. So it's out of the way. There's no signal noise or anything being interfering with the memory signal tracing leading to the CPU. All the power is being cleanly delivered. And yeah, let's move on to the VRM. It's a very similar VRM to, no, it's pretty much identical to the Z690 Dark, or Kingpin, Classified. But with the rotated socket, this thing should be far more efficient as far as signaling goes. Now, it has a 19-phase VRM, 105 amp power phases, and it is actively cooled. And as you can see here, it has fin stacks, which is a proper way to create a heat sink, not just a big chunk of aluminum. Doesn't dissipate heat very well. So I love that about this. And keep in mind, I'm using this as a workstation build, but I will overclock it. But I want this thing to be as high performance, but as efficient as possible. So with fine tuning, this setup should give me, or net me, great results. All right, now moving on, we still have EVGA's awesome Q code readout over here with the 4 digits. And this comes in handy for many reasons, especially in XOC. But for me, I'll probably mainly be using it as just standard Q code readout and die temperature readout in real time. It's a hardware level die temperature readout. You got power reset, safe boot mode. This is very interesting. They added a lot of ARGB headers. There's 4 ARGB headers, 5 volt headers. I've never seen that on too many boards. I don't know how many boards. Most boards use 2 on average, and as EVGA is not generally pro RGB. It is kind of cool that they threw that on there, because I will be using a little bit of ARGB. Not all 4 of them though. That is pretty cool. Then you got your pump header, system fan header, CPU headers, all 4-pin PWM. The Pro bit header is up here, right on top. If you wanted to, measure voltage rails manually using a DMM. Another cool feature, what I love about EVGA boards, this does have 3 Bioses. It does, like every other EVGA board, which comes in handy, especially when you're playing with new Bioses, and so you could corrupt one particular one, and you still have 2 as backup. So it sucks bricking boards. Believe me, I know people that have done it. I've never personally bricked a board from BIOS update, but it happens. There's also a USB 2.0 header on the board for BIOS updating on the fly. You don't even need a CPU in the socket. You just need to have some power going to the board, and you press a little button in the back for BIOS update, and it'll flash the BIOS right from a thumb drive directly to the BIOS, which is a really cool feature. It also has, more than 4 SATA slots. It has 8 SATA slots, which is cool if you run SATA, but I won't be. I'll be running NVMEs. There are 3 M2, I believe 2280 length M2 slots under here. The one being on top, that's the one grabbing 4 lanes directly from the CPU. The other 2 are grabbing 4 lanes each from the PCH, all PCI Express 4.0. So that's pretty cool. I do like the Classified logo. At first, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. It seemed very red, like too red, like on the product pictures. But it's actually very understated. And with the GPU I'm going to be running, which is Ampere-based Quadro, well, they don't call them Quadros anymore. It's still a dual slot card, so it'll be covering it for the most part. Until I water cool it, then it's going to be a single slot card. I'm not sure if this is, it doesn't look like RGB, so I doubt it is. This is definitely going to be RGB. The Z790 Classified logo up here, that will be RGB. So you get 2 reinforced, steel reinforced, I believe they use steel. PCI Express 16 lanes. Of course, only the top one runs natively as X16. The bottom runs natively at X8. But with the spacing, unfortunately, I can't use 2 84 or A4500s because Quadros use a specific SLI bridge, or NV-Link bridge rather, and they only make them up to 3 spacings. Now I need a 4 spacing bridge, and they don't make them, so I'm going to be stuck with 1 card, which is totally fine with me. Under here we have some covers, which I like that they keep adding more and more covers because it makes the board look so much cleaner. That's just HD audio. And down here we have our BIOS switch, front panel, and I'm not sure what that header is, but there's another header in there. I'm gonna have to look that up in the manual. Now on the back, we'll get to the I/O in a second. We got this lovely back plate. I know there's probably reflections because there's still plastic on it, but it's a very good looking back plate, and it gives this board a very premium feel. Just like the Z690 Dark before it. I mean, there's something about adding the back plate to these things that just make them feel far more quality. And this board, believe me, if you were to hold it, you'd realize what I'm talking about. As far as I/O goes, and this is an important thing, especially if you're going to be using it as a workstation computer, which is pretty important to me to have a little bit of I/O, more so than you would get in an XOC board. We have 6. These are 3 USB Type A generation 3.2. These are 10 gigabits per second each. So you get 6 Type A ports, Gen 2, 3.2 Gen 2. But then we also have 2 USB-C PCIe 4 ports, or USB 4 ports, 4.0 ports, sorry. And the cool thing about these, because if you notice, this motherboard does not have any display port or HDMI port or anything for video out. So if you're troubleshooting potentially dead GPU or any type of discrete GPU problem, there's no way for you to get a video signal out of the iGPU. Well, these USB-C ports over here, these USB 4.0 C ports, also display DisplayPort 1.4 out. So it serves as a video signal, video out signal as well. But these are rated at 40 gigabits per second. The only downside that I have as a personal pet peeve is that it doesn't have Thunderbolt anywhere on the board. There's no Thunderbolt headers. There's no internal Thunderbolt header on the board. There's no Io Thunderbolt ports. That would have been a nice addition for such a premium board, but this will do just fine for me. And then, of course, you got your Wi-Fi, your 7.1 channel audio. But overall, for a mainstream board, very, very, very nice board. Of course, you got your PCI Express supplemental power with a 6-pin. So, yeah, hopefully in the next few days I'll have this thing on a bench. Unfortunately, my 13900 KS has been delayed because I wasn't home and it required a signature. And it should be here by Monday, hopefully. So I like to test this thing out and see how it does with 4 DIMMs, 2 DBC, 4 DIMM configuration. But yeah, guys, here is the EVGA Z790 Classified. Fantastic board, and I can't wait to play with it. Like I said, stay tuned. I'll be making a video of the dark shortly, and I got plenty of overclocking content to come, as well as my new build, which is going to be interesting. And a huge thanks and shout out to Be Quiet for providing me with a case, the new SoundLink 4 Pro fans, and even their 1500 watt dark power titanium rated PSU, which is all going to power this thing up. So it's going to be a fun build to make, and I'm looking forward to building it with an EVGA board. It's been a long time since I've had a proper desktop, and it'll be used for Mastercam, SolidWorks, and Premiere Pro and Lightroom and stuff like that. So it's going to be very much a prosumer PC, and it should be quiet, ironically enough, but perform very well. All right, guys, until next time, I guess I'll see you guys later. I got plenty of content coming up, so stay tuned for that. Peace.